She flew 3,000 miles for what was supposed to be a friendly conversation. She left 45 minutes later, walking out of a Montecito mansion with footage that would ignite a firestorm. Robin Roberts has interviewed presidents, survivors, and some of the most difficult personalities in American media, but nothing prepared her for the woman sitting across from her that Tuesday morning. From the very first question, something was wrong. From the very first answer, the walls went up. And by the time the camera stopped rolling, one of America's most beloved journalists had done something she'd never done in 30 years of broadcasting. She ended an interview early, looked her subject in the eye, and said the words no one had ever dared to say to Meghan Markle's face. What happened inside that perfectly staged living room wasn't just an interview gone wrong. It was the moment the mask finally slipped. Before we dive into this incredible story, make sure you hit that subscribe button and smash that like. Now, let's get into what really happened in that Montecito living room. Robin Roberts had been doing this for over 30 years. She'd interviewed world leaders and grieving families, survivors and celebrities, people at their highest moments and their lowest. She'd built her reputation on warmth, empathy, and the ability to make anyone feel comfortable enough to share their truth. But she'd also built it on something else, the willingness to ask hard questions when they needed asking. As she settled into her chair and watched the camera crew make final adjustments, Robin studied the woman across from her. Meghan Markle sat with perfect posture. Everything about her presentation said, "I'm happy to be here." Everything except her eyes. "We're rolling," the director announced quietly. Robin smiled her trademark warm smile. "Meghan, thank you so much for inviting us into your beautiful home. I know how much you value your privacy. So, this really means a lot." Meghan's smile was immediate and practiced. "Thank you for coming all this way, Robin. I've always admired your work." It was a pleasant enough start. Robin consulted her notes briefly, more for show than necessity. She'd memorized every question days ago. "So, you've been busy. The foundation work, the podcast, various business ventures. Tell me about what's been driving you lately." Meghan tilted her head in a way that somehow managed to convey that the question was beneath her. "Well, Robin, I think busy is a relative term. I'm certainly engaged with work that matters, work that has actual impact on people's lives. That's always been what drives me. Not activity for activity's sake, but purposeful action. And what does that purposeful action look like right now? It looks like a lot of things. Initiatives around women's empowerment, children's literacy, mental health awareness, the kind of substantive work that doesn't always make headlines, but genuinely changes lives." Robin nodded encouragingly. "Can you tell us about a specific program or initiative that you're particularly excited about?" Something flickered across Meghan's face, a flash of irritation perhaps, quickly suppressed. "I'm excited about all of it. Asking me to single out one thing feels very reductive, like you want a soundbite rather than an actual understanding of the breadth of our work." Robin's eyebrows rose slightly. "I wasn't looking for a soundbite. I just thought our viewers might appreciate hearing about something specific, a story that illustrates the impact you're talking about." "Our viewers," Meghan repeated, and there was something almost mocking in her tone. "Right. Well, if they want specifics, they can visit our website. I'm here to have a conversation, not deliver a press release." It was an odd response, dismissive of a question designed to give her a platform to shine. Robin made a mental note and pressed on. "Fair enough. Let's talk about your journey. You've had such a remarkable path. Actress, philanthropist, member of the royal family, and now building this new chapter in California. How do you reflect on all those transitions?" Meghan sighed, a small sound that somehow carried enormous weight. "You know, Robin, I've answered variations of this question hundreds of times. The journey narrative, the transition story, the remarkable path framing, it all feels very external, like my life is being packaged for consumption rather than actually understood." "I'm sorry if the question felt packaged. I'm genuinely interested in how you see your own evolution." "My evolution?" Meghan laughed, but there was no warmth in it. "That's just another way of asking the same thing. How have I changed? What have I learned?" It's the kind of question that assumes I need to justify my existence, to prove that I've grown in ways that satisfy other people's expectations. Robin paused, recalibrating. In 30 years of interviews, she'd encountered defensive guests before, but usually not this quickly, and rarely this intensely. I don't think anyone's asking you to justify your existence, Meghan. I'm just trying to understand who you are now versus who you were before. And why does that matter? Meghan's voice had taken on an edge. Why is who I was relevant to who I am? I'm here, I'm doing work, I'm raising my children. Why does everything have to be filtered through my past? Because context helps people understand? Context. Meghan cut her off, her expression hardening. That word gets used a lot to justify invasive questioning. We're just providing context. Viewers need context. What it really means is, we want to keep defining you by things that happened years ago rather than engaging with who you are today. Robin took a breath, her patience being tested but her professionalism holding firm. Okay, let's focus entirely on today then. What would you like people to know about the Meghan Markle of right now? What I'd like is for people to stop asking what I'd like them to know. I'd like to be seen rather than interrogated. I'd like to have a conversation that isn't designed to extract information, but to actually connect. That's what I'm trying to do, Meghan. But connection requires mutual effort. I ask questions, you answer them, we find common ground. That's how interviews work. Meghan's smile returned, but it was sharp now, almost predatory. Is that how they work? Because from my experience, what actually happens is that I answer questions. Those answers get edited and reframed, and then I spend weeks correcting misrepresentations. So, forgive me if I'm a bit cautious about the mutual effort framing. Robin felt something shift inside her, the first stirrings of genuine frustration. She'd been nothing but respectful, nothing but professional, and she was being treated like an adversary. I understand you've had difficult experiences with media, Robin said carefully. Many public figures have, but I've spent my entire career trying to conduct fair, honest interviews. I'm not here to trap you or misrepresent you. I'm here because I was genuinely interested in talking to you. Were you? Or were you interested in the ratings that come with talking to me? Because those are different things, Robin. The accusation was direct and personal. Robin's expression flickered, hurt perhaps, or surprise at the boldness of the attack. I don't think you know me well enough to question my motives, Robin replied, her voice steady but cooler now. I know the industry. The motives are built into the structure. Then why agree to this interview at all? If you believe everyone in media has ulterior motives, why invite me into your home? Meghan paused, seeming to consider whether to continue the confrontation or step back. She chose a middle path, answering the question while maintaining her defensive posture. Because sometimes you have to engage with systems you don't fully trust, because silence gets interpreted as guilt or weakness, because no matter what I do, I'll be covered and commented on, so I might as well have some input into the narrative. So this is about controlling the narrative. This is about not ceding the narrative to people who've proven they don't have my best interests at heart. And you've decided I'm one of those people? Based on what exactly? Meghan's eyes narrowed slightly. Based on the line of questioning, Robin. You've asked me about my journey, my transitions, how I reflect on my past. Those are all ways of keeping me anchored to a story I'm trying to move beyond. A genuinely supportive interview would focus on where I'm going, not where I've been. Robin leaned forward slightly. With respect, Meghan, you can't dictate what constitutes a supportive interview. I'm a journalist. My job is to ask questions that illuminate who you are, and that includes your past, because it's shaped who you've become. I'm not trying to dictate anything. I'm expressing disappointment that even now, even here, the focus is on the things I'm trying to leave behind rather than the work I'm trying to do. Then let's talk about the work. Tell me about a specific project you're currently engaged with. Something concrete that you can point to and say, this is what I'm building? Meghan waved her hand dismissively. I've already said I'm not going to give you a soundbite program to feature. The work is comprehensive. It's ongoing. It doesn't reduce to a single initiative that can be wrapped up in a 30-second segment. I'm not asking for 30 seconds. I'm giving you as much time as you need to explain what you're doing. And I'm telling you that the work doesn't explain in that way. It's not about individual programs. It's about systemic change, the kind of change that takes years to manifest and doesn't photograph well for morning television. The dismissiveness of morning television landed pointedly. Robin had helped build Good Morning America into a journalistic institution, had covered wars and natural disasters and historic moments alongside the lighter fare. Being reduced to morning television by someone who had starred in a cable legal drama was more than she was willing to accept quietly. Good Morning America has covered every major news story of the last 4 decades, Robin said, her voice carrying a new edge. We've done in-depth investigations, award-winning documentaries, and yes, also celebrity interviews. I don't think we need to apologize for our range. I wasn't asking you to apologize. I was making an observation about format constraints. It sounded more like condescension. Meghan's eyebrows rose. I'm sorry you heard it that way. The non-apology was obvious to everyone in the room. Robin took a moment to gather herself, aware that the interview was heading somewhere neither of them had intended. Let me try a different approach, Robin said, her journalistic instincts overriding her personal frustration. You mentioned wanting to focus on where you're going rather than where you've been. So tell me, where are you going? What does the next chapter of Meghan Markle's life look like? Meghan seemed to soften slightly at the reframed question. The next chapter is about building something sustainable, something that outlasts the headlines and the news cycles. I want to create structures that help people, particularly women and children, long after anyone remembers my name. That's beautiful. Can you tell me more about those structures? They're still taking shape. I don't want to announce things before they're fully formed. That's how things get distorted. You share an idea, it gets covered speculatively, and suddenly you're being held accountable for something that was never a concrete plan. So there's nothing you can share about what you're actually doing? I'm sharing the vision, the philosophy. That should be enough. For some viewers, it might be. Others might want to know specifics. What are you actually building? Who's involved? What's the timeline? What's the impact? Meghan's expression hardened again. And those viewers can wait until we're ready to share specifics. I'm not going to have my plans scrutinized and criticized before they've even been implemented. But you're asking people to support your work without knowing what that work is. Doesn't that require a certain leap of faith that might be easier if you were more transparent? Transparent? Meghan laughed, but it was bitter. That's a word that gets weaponized against me constantly. I'm supposed to be transparent about everything. My finances, my family, my plans, my feelings, while everyone else gets to operate privately. It's a double standard, Robin, and I'm tired of playing along with it. I don't think asking about your charitable work constitutes a double standard. Most public figures who do philanthropic work are happy to discuss it. Most public figures haven't had every word they've ever said dissected and distorted by a hostile press. The American press has been largely sympathetic to you, hasn't it? Oprah, Ellen, major magazine profiles. Most of the coverage here has been favorable. Something dangerous flashed in Meghan's eyes. Largely sympathetic isn't the same as accurate, and favorable coverage that's based on incomplete information is just a different kind of distortion. Then help me complete the information. That's why I'm here. Tell me things you haven't told other outlets. Give me the full picture. The full picture can't be conveyed in an interview, Robin. It's too complex, too nuanced. Every time I try to explain something fully, it gets reduced to headlines and hot takes. So your solution is to explain nothing? My solution is to be selective about what I share and with whom I share it. And yet, you agreed to this interview. You invited cameras into your home. You're choosing to engage with media right now, this moment. If you don't trust the process, why participate? The question seemed to strike a nerve. Meghan's composure cracked slightly, just enough for Robin to glimpse something underneath the polished surface. Because I don't have a choice, Meghan said, her voice dropping to something quieter, almost vulnerable. Because silence is interpreted as hiding. Because every time I step back from public life, the narrative gets filled in by people who weren't there and don't know what happened. I have to keep showing up, keep explaining myself, keep defending my existence, even when it's exhausting, even when I know it won't make a difference. Robin felt a flash of genuine sympathy. There was real pain in those words, real frustration, but sympathy didn't negate the fact that Meghan had been combative and dismissive throughout the interview. I hear that exhaustion, Robin said gently. I really do. Public life is hard. Constant scrutiny is hard. But Meghan, and I say this with genuine care, the way you've engaged with me this morning isn't going to help your situation. I came here ready to give you a fair platform to let you share your story on your own terms. And you've treated every question like an attack. Meghan's walls went back up instantly. Because they have been attacks. Just because they're phrased politely doesn't mean they're not hostile. Asking about your charitable work is hostile. Asking about your vision for the future is hostile. Meghan, I've spent the last 20 minutes trying to give you opportunities to shine, and you've rejected every single one. Maybe I don't want opportunities that come with strings attached. What strings? I've asked basic questions that any journalist would ask. I haven't brought up tabloid rumors. I haven't mentioned your family conflicts. I haven't asked about Harry? Meghan cut in sharply. Go ahead. I know that's what this is really about. Every interviewer eventually gets there. How's Harry? How's the marriage? Are the rumors true? Just ask, Robin. Get it over with. Robin paused, studying Meghan carefully. I wasn't going to ask about Harry. That's not what this interview was designed to be. But you want to. I can see it in your notes. I can see the questions you're dying to ask, but holding back because, I'll shut them down. You can't see my notes, Meghan, and I don't have questions about Harry prepared because your team specifically requested that topic be off limits. I respected that request. Did you? Or did you just save them for when the cameras were rolling, hoping I'd slip up and give you something you could use? The accusation was paranoid, ungrounded, and deeply unfair. Robin felt something shift inside her, the final remnants of her patience evaporating. I have conducted thousands of interviews in my career. I have talked to people in their darkest moments and their brightest. I have never tried to trick or trap a guest. The fact that you would accuse me of that, sitting in your own home where I came at your invitation, tells me something important about how you see the world. And what's that? That you've decided everyone is your enemy. That no matter what anyone does or says, you'll interpret it as hostility. That you've built such strong walls around yourself that genuine connection has become impossible. Meghan stared at her, something unreadable in her expression. That's quite a psychological assessment from someone who's known me for 45 minutes. I'm not assessing you psychologically. I'm describing what I've observed in our conversation. You've been defensive, dismissive, and accusatory from the moment we started. I've been nothing but professional and respectful. And somehow, I'm the villain in your narrative. I never said you were a villain. You've implied it with every response, every sigh, every eye roll when I ask something you don't like. You've treated me like an obstacle rather than an interviewer, like someone you have to get through rather than someone you might actually talk to. Meghan uncrossed and recrossed her legs, her discomfort visible. I'm sorry you feel that way. Are you? Because that sounds like another non-apology. I'm sorry you feel that way puts the problem on me. A real apology would be, I'm sorry for how I've behaved. Maybe because I don't think I've behaved badly. I've been cautious. I've been protective. Given everything I've experienced, I think that's reasonable. Caution and protection don't require rudeness. You can be guarded without being dismissive. You can be careful without being condescending. Condescending? Meghan's voice rose. I haven't been condescending. You called my questions reductive. You dismissed Good Morning America as morning television. You've suggested multiple times that I'm incapable of understanding your work or your perspective. How is that not condescension? Those were observations, not insults. They can be both, and they have been. The two women stared at each other across the carefully staged living room. The camera crew had gone silent, barely breathing, aware that they were capturing something far more raw than anyone had anticipated. Robin made a decision. 30 years of experience told her that continuing this interview would serve no one. Not her, not Meghan, not the viewers who deserved better than watching two women circle each other defensively. I think we should stop here, Robin said quietly. Meghan blinked. What? I think we should stop. This interview isn't working. We're not connecting. We're not communicating. We're just... She searched for the right word. We're performing conflict instead of having conversation. You're ending the interview? I'm suggesting we pause. Maybe we can try again another time, when we're both in a better headspace. Meghan's expression hardened. You can't just end an interview because you don't like how it's going. Actually, I can. And I'm choosing to because I don't think continuing serves either of us. I came here hoping to learn something about who you are. Instead, I've learned that you're not ready or willing to share that with me. And that's okay. That's your right. But it means there's no point in continuing. So, you're just going to leave, fly all the way here, and then walk out because I didn't give you the answers you wanted? I didn't want specific answers, Meghan. I wanted honest engagement, and that hasn't happened. I've been honest. You've been defended. Those aren't the same thing. Meghan stood up abruptly, her composure finally cracking fully. This is ridiculous. You invite yourself into my home, ask me invasive questions, and then act like I'm the problem because I don't perform gratitude for the privilege of being interrogated. Robin stood as well, her voice remaining calm, even as her counterparts rose. I didn't invite myself. Your team approached us, and I haven't asked a single invasive question. I've asked about your work, your vision, your current focus. The only thing that's been invasive is your interpretation of everything I've said. My interpretation is based on decades of experience with media manipulation, and my interpretation is based on decades of experience conducting fair interviews. We clearly see this situation differently, which is why continuing seems pointless. Meghan looked around the room, at the cameras, at the crew, at Robin standing calmly before her. Something in her expression shifted, as if she were suddenly seeing how this would look from the outside. Her agitated, Robin composed. Her the aggressor, Robin the professional. This is going to make me look bad, Meghan said quietly. I'm not responsible for how you look. I'm responsible for how I conduct myself. And I've conducted myself with professionalism throughout. What you do with that is up to you. You're going to air this. Portions of it, yes. Our viewers deserve to see what happened. They can draw their own conclusions. They'll see whatever you want them to see. That's how editing works. We'll release a longer version online, unedited. People can watch the whole thing and judge for themselves. Meghan laughed bitterly. How generous of you. It's called transparency, something you claim to value but seem unwilling to practice. The barb landed. Meghan's eyes flashed with something, anger, hurt, recognition, before she looked away. Robin turned to the camera crew. That's a wrap, thank you all. The professional efficiency of a veteran broadcaster reasserting itself. Meghan stood alone in the middle of her perfect living room, looking suddenly uncertain without the structure of an interview to push against. Robin paused before leaving, turning back one final time. For what it's worth, she said, her voice genuinely kind despite everything, I think there's a real person underneath all those defenses. Someone who's been hurt and is trying to protect themselves. I have sympathy for that. I just wish you'd been willing to let me see her. Meghan said nothing. Her jaw was set, her eyes bright with what might have been unshed tears or might have been fury. Robin gathered her things and walked out of the Montecito estate, leaving behind a duchess who had learned nothing and a story that would tell itself. What do you think? Was Robin right to end the interview early, or should she have pushed through? Did Meghan have legitimate concerns about media treatment, or was her defensiveness unjustified? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.